authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with award-winning children's and young adult fiction author Lisa van der Wielen, and she's chatting to us on how to keep momentum writing and publishing books as an indie author, motivation, balancing and prioritising parenting and life commitments against creative ones, what author success looks like, hybrid authorship, social media for authors, the Spark Award, her books and more. So in my author adventure this week, it's been much the same as last. My children's fiction is still out on submission and my non-fiction books are still available for sale if anyone is keen to learn more about author fears and how they might overcome them. Or if you're setting up a freelance writing startup, check out Freelance Writing Quick Tips for Fast Success, which shares 60 plus quick tips on aspects to place you in the pro position before you've met with your first client. I had been writing up a storm in my women's fiction project, which I only share the ins and outs and ups and downs, side to sides in my newsletter. So if you're keen to know more about these works, you can head on over to the Hybrid Author website and sign up for your free author pass, where you'll instantly receive a 14-page document, yours to keep, outlining how to go about discovering your writing process, publishing productively, and getting comfortable promoting you and your work as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally producing your books, as well as fortnightly newsletters from myself with insights into my women's fiction rapid release experimental project and hybrid author musings I share nowhere else. Some updates in regards to the Hybrid Author podcast. I began this podcast as a way to reach authors and industry professionals worldwide to be able to ask the kind of questions I wanted to know, as well as give back to the writing community by providing meaningful, useful content to help other authors on their author adventures. I do also count the podcast as a marketing tool, and I use it to make people aware of my books and also to sell them as well. Podcasting, writing and authorship are not hobbies for me, and my writing career, I do treat it like a business and with the expectation of earning an income, and this podcast is all part of that. So what you can expect going forward, since the start of 2023, you can still expect sponsorship of the Hybrid Author podcast played after the intro and my author adventure update each week. A few episodes back, what won't be happening is a few episodes back I announced that I would be casting the sponsorship sort of advertising space on the podcast out to authors as a new segment called Author Spot, and just for authors to be able to advertise their books on this platform, paid advertising of course. But while I'm traveling in the caravan with my family for the rest of the year, this is just not going to be a viable option. The actual having to vet the books that's going to get pitched to me, and it's just going to be too much of an undertaking. So unfortunately, I apologise. That section is not going to be a viable option. Maybe in the future, we'll see how things pan out. So the way in which a podcast works is kind of like a website. You pay for hosting online and for online space for your podcast episodes to be stored. I pay a hosting platform to hold my audio files and then release them across the audio platforms. My platform has just announced that they're turning on paid advertising onto certain podcasts, and I have signed up for this. So that's something that's going to be new to the podcast that you can expect. Probably adverts being placed maybe at the very beginning and at the end, just one advert, I believe. And unfortunately this time, because this is such a new thing for them and us, I guess, we're not going to be able to select what ads we want. And so I'm not going to be able to, I'm not sure what's going to be played read or what's not, and it goes into the backlist as well, but it's not on all episodes, I think they said. So I'm going to switch this on. Like I said, this is another way for me to be able to cover these outgoing costs like hosting and domains and things like that are all fees that I put out for putting the podcast together. And we'll see how it goes. If it turns out to be super annoying or the adverts are really not... They said that they put them together with the podcast as best they can, so hopefully it's on writing or something like that, but I'm just going to do it and then see how it goes. So this sponsorship and advertising, so the sponsorships I've got and these advertising ads will go towards, like I just said, they'll currently pay for the hosting, fingers crossed, but my time in putting together the episodes currently goes unpaid, and there is a bit of work involved. My time gets covered by my lovely listenership, which is you guys, and thank you so much to all who have supported the podcast by buying me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. A couple of bucks if an episode has resonated with yourself, or you can support me by purchasing a book for yourself or anyone you know that the topics would benefit as well. So thanks again. I just want to thank everybody who has listened to the podcast, who's currently listening, new listeners, old listeners. It means so much that you guys have found what I do helpful and it's making a difference in the world. So that's all fantastic as well. So thank you. In caravan plans, I've been in Broome, if you listened to the podcast last, and I conducted 2 podcast episodes. The first time since we've left Perth in the caravan, I did my first 2 podcast episodes. This one with Lisa coming up was one of them, and the one from next week with Lee Christine is another. And it was very different because I conducted them on my laptop in the caravan bathroom, didn't have my usual setup, which was my podcast microphone. I had issues with the Starlink as well, which is our satellite internet. I had to hotspot off my phone. So I do apologise that the usual quality of my audio might not be there because I'm not using a microphone. But the quality of the podcast, I think, is still fine. Lisa does this in this interview that comes up in the beginning. There's a couple of glitches, but apart from that, it's a great interview. So apologies there. We're going to be basing ourselves in Darwin for a month, in the month of June. And yeah, once the Starlink, I'm not conducting interviews without the satellite internet. It's just not going to happen again. I've actually cancelled one this week, or was it last week? This week, because the Starlink didn't work the way we were going to, and I just thought, nah, I'm not going to do it. It's not fair. So we have been in Broome the last 2 weeks. We've actually left today, and we're very, very sad to leave. It is such a beautiful place in Western Australia. If you've never been, please go and check it out. It was amazing. The culture, all the things we learned there. Most evenings were spent. We stayed at RSE Cable Beach Caravan Park, and the evenings were spent, throwing frisbees on the beach, watching the sunset, and it was just stunning, absolutely stunning place. What made this Broome visit special was the absolutely amazing salt of the earth people that we met, these travelling families. Shout out to Richards Around Oz. They're a travelling family that have been travelling for a couple of years, and we got very friendly with them, and they have pretty much set us up on a new path, a new exciting adventure, and I'm going to be sharing more about this on the podcast in the coming months because it's something that I think will help author individuals and us as authors do our writing work whilst having a passive income. So it's quite exciting. So we left today and travelled the Great Northern Highway, and we crossed the Fitzroy Crossing, which if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that we've changed our plans a number of times because this Fitzroy Crossing was getting flooded. And it was amazing to cross over it, and you can see the damage that had been done, but it was all restored. And a lot of Aboriginal communities up here, which it's just amazing to see them all gather under the trees. There's just such a big community, and they all come together, and I'd love to go and join them and just find out what they're talking about. Super, super different. So at the moment, I'm recording this on my phone, which most of the intros and all the outros and stuff is going to be done. So again, if the quality of the audio is a bit different, that's why. There's no mic, unfortunately. I'm in the car and it's nighttime, and I'm at Larawa Station, which is just a homestead off the side of the road, and we came here at night, so it's a beautiful spot. We're over the bugs. I've just gone to the toilet, which thankfully there is flushing toilets, and I went to the toilet, and then when my daughter went in and I shined the light, there was this big green frog beside me, and I never even saw it or heard it or nothing, and I'm glad, because if the thing had leapt on me Oh my gosh, I would have screamed the place down, and it's very quiet here. You can hear a pin drop, so the whole camp can probably hear me on this podcast right now. Yes, it's a nice spot, but it's just a stopover. We're on our way to hopefully get in at Lake Argyle, but we don't have a booking, can't get these people on the phone. Bungles seems to be shut, but basically heading to Kununurra, and then we have a booking at a place called El Questro. So yeah, slowly making our way. As I said, we have a month's booking in Darwin from June. So yeah, that's where we're heading. Still absolutely amazing being in the caravan, having some trying days with, it's been about 4 weeks. Someone says you climatise by 6. Homeschooling can be hard. Me not having my personal space can be hard. Definitely meltdowns from everyone left, right and centre, but it's really a unique experience that we're all enjoying as well. Well, we're all loving, but it's a lifestyle change, so that's super hard too. So now let's hear from our hybrid author sponsor, Plotter. So if you're new to the podcast, one of the valued hybrid author sponsors is Plotter, and that's Plotter. Plotter is a software tool to help authors outline their books, and I've been using Plotter this year to help with the plot of my women's fiction books. So far, I'm still fleshing out the first draft and daily consult my story outline in Plotter to see which scene I'm writing out that day, and it just really helps to keep the focus. So this features only one of many that comes in the form of visual timelines, which work like a corkboard layout, and they're easy to drag and drop wherever you want to position them. You can also create story bibles, which help you track your characters and settings within your work, and it provides tons of starter templates for various genre outlines, and as well as series planning and regular software integrations. And there's just so much more. It's a great little tool. You can head on over to their website, which is plotter.com. They have a 14-day free trial if you want to give it a go. It's just, for myself, it's just using it to outline my work all in one space to be able to work quicker, faster. And then I actually write in Scrivener, and it is compatible with that and other software. So if you've never heard of it before, go over and have a look. That's Plotter, Plotter. And their motto is outline faster, organise smarter, and turbocharge your productivity with the #1 visual book planning software for writers.
Lisa van der Wielen is an award-winning author, writer of poetry, children's books, chapter books and novels, as well as an enthusiastic educator and mum of 2. Welcome to the Hybrid Author Podcast, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
We're absolutely thrilled to have you. Thanks for coming on. We're just going to get right into it and find out how you came to be an author and independently publish your books.
Well, I've always loved writing, and being a teacher, I always wanted to actually write my own picture books. So in 2017, I wrote my first picture book. I sent the manuscript away to various publishers with lots of rejections, but I finally received an acceptance, and I actually published my first picture book with the publisher. He published my subsequent books for various reasons.
Fantastic. That's amazing. And in between doing all that and being an educator and a parent and obviously writing and publishing your own books, how have you kept writing momentum to publish books? You seem to put out between 1 and 2 a year. How have you found the time or made it?
It's always a juggling act. I think I always try and make time for my creative work because I think it's so important for my own mental health. So sometimes it's only an hour a day, and other days I might get a few hours to focus on my writing and my books. But I think it's a priority to try and focus on that creative time because I know for me it's really important.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's almost, I've found as well, being a parent and working, and it's escapism for yourself, isn't it? That you need to get that part of you out. Beginning of self-publishing your work, you would have had what maybe author success meant to you then. How does it mean, what does your author success mean to you now, after writing so many books and published them? Has it changed? Or
I think it has. I think initially your success is to get your work published. And I think then as you publish more books, that changes, because I think success as an author is a difficult one to gauge, because most people would judge that on how many books are sold worldwide. But I feel that to continue to publish and be in the publishing industry, it's so important to keep putting a creative work out there. And I think success then should really be judged on, I guess, being a lasting author or writer and having published work put out there. You know, with published work, I think you're always going to have lovers and haters and followers, but it's just really important to put work out to the world that is meaningful to you.
Yeah, no, well said there. I think exactly hit the nail on the head. Success is different for everyone. And some people, it's just to have readers or to hold the book in their hand, or for others, it can be to make money, which obviously publishing repeatedly is an important factor there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think being a children's author, it's if you feel like you've got a story that you want to tell to the world, that you think it's important for children to hear, that's really your motivation to success, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And all of the above. You can want it all, I guess. I know I do. I want
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
the best work and, make the most money and do all that sort of stuff. But in some regards, that can kind of not motivate you, but block you in the end. If you're trying to
Yeah.
put something out and it's not the best, and oh gosh, it's a hard game. So that's why today's topic is keeping writing momentum. And from your perspective, being an indie author, I am gonna have another author on from the traditional side as a part 2 to this, about how they kind of keep up writing momentum, because I think obviously self-publishing and traditional publishing is quite different. Self-publishing, you're in control, you make your schedule, you can put out what you want when you want. Whereas obviously with traditional, you're kind of, it's a waiting game. You're more from the publisher's side. So
That's right.
yeah, I mean, how have you managed from the indie author perspective to keep up, writing and publishing momentum? Because I found, I've self-published 2 nonfiction works, and I'm struggling to sort of organize myself in between, family, day job, if some people have them, with the books I've already got, to be, when do I market these? Because I want to continually market them and write in the next book and publish. And how do you manage to do what you do?
Yeah, that's right. And I think with writing momentum, it always comes in waves. And when that inspiration is there, it's so important to take that opportunity when it arises to actually write and be creative. So it's very hard to find that balance sometimes. But I think it is all about prioritizing and trying to balance, as life is a balancing act, I think, and to focus on the old work and the new work. I find I go back to trying to promote some of my older work along the way and try and balance that time out. And there are times of year where certain books are better to promote than others, but I try and set aside a few hours each week where I focus on my old work, and then I prioritize most of my time to actually writing and putting out new work.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear, because it is exactly what you're saying, a balancing juggling act. And I don't think that the old books should necessarily, but you've written it now, and that's it out in the world. It got marketed for a couple of weeks, almost like the traditional side, sorry, and then it kind of just, they move on. Whereas I guess with indie publishing, you have to constantly promote your backlist, and I guess that's where series probably is quite a good thing to write, to be able to promote your work ongoing.
Yeah, and I think the marketing is the most difficult part as an independent author or publisher, because it's such an ever-changing world. Social media with Instagram and Facebook, and now TikTok is becoming a big thing to promote books as well. So it's a constant learning curve as well.
Are you putting yourself out there on all platforms? Are you just doing what you can do, or?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. I haven't actually ventured over to TikTok yet, and I know it's quite a younger demographic. I think for children's writing, it's good. But yeah, I haven't gone there yet.
There's actually a really big writing community on Twitter. big following base. So I actually find Twitter quite good for promoting books.
No, that's fantastic as well. Yeah. Being an indie author yourself, do you have any tips that you would pass on to aspiring authors or indie authors who are maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed trying to write, publish, and market their either their first work or their existing work, and to keep up momentum, basically?
Well, I think it's like anything in life, you get back what you put in. So if you're passionate about something, then that's going to show through your work. So I guess my advice would be to keep writing, publishing, and keep putting your work out there, not because you have to, but because you want to.
Yeah, that's it. And that's really good advice. You have ideas all over the place, don't you? You do the picture books and your young adult and chapter books and things. Tell us about all the different books. I guess, do you just have story ideas and you just decide to go with them or wherever the wind takes you?
Yeah, and often the inspiration comes at the strangest times. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning and you wake up and decide that'd be a good idea for a book. And you write that down. So it's just whenever the inspiration comes. And I guess being a teacher, as well as a mum, there's often issues that arise that I then think, well, that would make a great book.
Yeah.
In this ever-changing world. And then, COVID came along as well. So I guess there's always parts of life that inspire me to write stories. And there's always something that can be turned into a book, I think, or a story.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've had a lot of support from obviously being a mum and from the education community and people around you for becoming an author and sharing your stories?
Yeah, I'm lucky. I work for the education department as a primary school teacher, and all the schools I've worked in are very supportive of my writing. The kids love it. They love giving me feedback on current projects, and I like to share my enthusiasm for reading and writing and illustrating. So, yeah, I'm really lucky that I work in that field because it definitely
Yeah.
helps me with my books, but it also helps with ideas and taking that feedback and running with some of the ideas of the kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could probably test your ideas out on them too. First, what do you call them? Beta readers.
Yeah,
To
that's
see
right.
whether it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Except some of their
fantastic.
ideas are so out there at times. I'm not sure how I can include that into a book, but
Well, I've heard especially in children's writing, the sillier, the sillier, the sillier, the kids just love it, don't they?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. And I can imagine working in that environment, having that support and that feedback and from the kids keeps your writing momentum and publishing momentum going for such a positive, environment.
Definitely. I think it definitely motivates you to spend that extra time and prioritizing that time to your writing.
Absolutely. And you recently had an award win with, was it the Squibby Crystal Kite Award for Little Doon?
It,
Am I saying it right?
it
Little
was,
Doon?
yeah, the Spark Award, the
The
Spark
Spark
Award.
Award. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you. So that was illustrated by a West Australian illustrator, Alison Mutton. So that was a really great collaborative project on that book. So I was stoked to win that award.
And has much come from that? Have you had, interviews or any requests since winning that award? How's that helped?
I have. I've had a few interviews, one with SBS Dutch actually, and yeah, I've got a few upcoming from that award. So definitely the publicity has helped.
And I suppose even winning awards and publicity and things, that also adds to keeping momentum with the writing and publishing and your career.
It does, and it helps get your work out to the world, I think. So,
Yeah.
and it's part of the marketing process.
Yeah. So would that be part of your advice as well, like submitting to awards and competitions and things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are so many different ones out there now, and it's hard to know which ones to enter and which ones are worthwhile. But again, that it takes a lot of time as well. So it's prioritizing which ones are more important to enter. And
That's it. I mean, I think you can feel, what do they say? Little small goals each day gets to big dreams or something like that. Because you can really, I certainly do feel overwhelmed by the amount of jobs and that you have to do as an indie author yourself, from writing the book getting that finished, and then obviously publishing it and marketing it. And then if you've got a backlist as well, it just feels like you've got to be everywhere. And then if you throw in the mix all your real life commitments, like parenting and working and things like that, I can see how it can be hard for people to become overwhelmed and overloaded. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people think once you publish a book, that's it, you've got it out to the world and that's it. But they don't realize that most of the work actually comes from marketing and promoting your work once it is published.
Yeah, that's it. Well, so you're on a roll, you're doing extremely well, and your books are all fantastic. Are you still submitting to traditional publishing houses, or for now you're enjoying what you're doing as a indie author?
I'm undecided with that because my first book was actually published with a publisher. So I found that I had little input with how the book actually turned out, and I wasn't given the opportunity to collaborate directly with the illustrator. So I actually chose to independently publish all my subsequent books for that reason. So I'm a little bit unsure whether I want to down the track publish with a traditional publisher, because I know that it takes years to actually get your work out to the world from when it's finished.
Yeah.
And you have less control over the work that does actually get published. So I think that's why I've continued to self-publish, and I now have 8 self-published books. So yeah, I'm undecided. I guess I'm still open to applying to traditional publishers down the track, depending.
So you're a hybrid author.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I do love a lot of the traditional publishing houses, and I'm currently submitting children's fiction to those, but I independently publish non-fiction because I'm just not interested in going down that path for my non-fiction books. But when I look at the submissions, like I think I submitted, honestly, it felt like a couple months ago, and looked at the little list I've got to see where I put it, and I thought, but there's still another 6 months. Like, what? Like, and that's just them getting back to you. And then if they take it, and then another 2 years. And I'm just impatient. And and that's not to say that's anything against my work, but I just want to put it out there now. I mean, you said you've got 8 books. How long's that over been a span? Was that from 2018 or since 2019?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So probably that's over 5 to 6 years I've published 8 books.
Sure. And if you had gone probably down the traditional route, you might only have about 2. I'd say.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I will have 9 by this year published. So yeah, it definitely helps you get your work out to the world a lot quicker by independently publishing, and you have more control over the work that does go out to the world.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the easier route though at all.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, there is a lot of work involved.
Tell us about your new YA.
So that's called Dear Universe, my first novel that I've ever written, because everything else I've published is a picture book. So this was a little bit different. That's actually launching to the world on the 1st of July. So I'm excited about that. And it's probably a path that I'd like to follow in the future, because I do enjoy writing that sort of genre.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to see it and read it. And well, please tell our listeners where they can discover this book and all your other books in stores and online.
Yes, yeah. So obviously on Amazon and in all major bookstores, you can find these books. So, and I also have a Heart Kids book, which is launching on the 9th of June, which is for the Australian charity Heart Kids, where all proceeds are going to that charity.
Oh, how lovely. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise today, Lisa. It's been wonderful. And I'm sure our listeners are feeling pumped to keep up their writing momentum after you sharing yours. And thanks again.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Joanne.
So there you have it, folks. The super psyched Lisa van der Wielen, keeping momentum on her writing and publishing adventure. Next time on the Hybrid Author podcast, we have romantic suspense and alpine crime author Lee Christine on It's Never Too Late to Turn Lifelong Dreams into a Reality, which I absolutely love. So looking forward to sharing Lee's episode next week. I wish you well in your author adventure this week. That's it from me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.